GZM Shows and the creators of 6 Minutes are rolling out their newest audio adventure with the podcast Discovering Dad. A cautious single dad with a secret past and his rebellious kids embark on a thrilling quest complete with hidden treasure, villains, and a family curse. New episodes of Discovering Dad roll out weekly starting June 11th on Apple Podcasts. Follow the show so you never miss an episode, or listen early and ad-free as a GZM Shows subscriber. Go to gzmshows.com to learn more.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Burntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I uncover the blasphemous truth of a plague-ridden world, that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Burntwine, coming January 2nd, wherever podcasts are available.
And now, listen to this on the Toddcast podcast.
If you grew up in Canada, late 80s, early 90s, watched much music, there's no way you won't know Ed the Sock. Loudmouth Sock, smokes a stogie, rants with the best of them, and just goes off. Ed helped make much cool back then, constantly pushing boundaries and expectations, calling out celebrities to their faces, a take-no-shit approach to pop culture, politics, the environment, you name it. And when Ed the Sock was a guest of the podcast, we talked to him about his first concert, Kiss and Ozzy's farewell, I'm air quoting, farewell tours, whether he thought that aliens have visited. MMA came up, so did seeing movies on the big screen. We shared near-death stories. His was involving WWE legend Bret Hart. We talked about Canada's political scene, how music has become a commodity. And Ed talked about being at Woodstock 99 with much music, and that is one of his career highlights. Listen to this.
Pretty difficult to figure out what I like the most. It's easier to figure out the people I like the least, but mostly I didn't pay that much attention. It was just a job. I went in, I did my shtick, I went the hell home.
Yeah, fair enough.
But highlights, I really liked being at Woodstock 99.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Because I was live on the air. I was the person, and this was noted in the media, I was the person who first said, this is about to go straight to hell. And it did. And I was the one who predicted it, which, you know, that's sort of odd notoriety, but I watched that for 3 days in blistering heat in a venue that was an old military base, so it had no shade, no place people could skulk in the shadows, and people were charging $10 for small bottles of water. I knew this was about to boil over.
Yeah.
And that afternoon, when they started knocking over the outhouses and body surfing in the crap, I knew this was Lord of the Flies. And so being a part of something that's actually unfolding in front of you historically, that was great fun. But generally, just being on Much Music, being on a place where they let me say whatever I wanted. Nobody spoke to me beforehand saying, what are you going to talk about? What are you going to say about this? Nobody ever asked me. No one told me not to talk about something. No one gave me hell after. Well, maybe they gave me hell after, but it didn't really matter because going forward, there was no rules. They respected me enough to let me do what I wanted to do, say what I wanted to say, and they allowed the other VJs of my generation to be who they were. They hired people who they knew, who they trusted, whose personalities they liked, and said, go do your thing. And this is the thing that's gone missing in those last 10 years. Mm-hmm. As more and more people, media figures and politicians, became very tightly controlled about what they were saying or allowed to say. This is why people around the world are starting to cotton to the appeal of an idiot like Trump, because Trump says what he means and means what he says. So I think people are attracted to that as opposed to the crap that comes out of his mouth. My job is to come back and do what I always did, which was say what I mean and mean what I say, but do it with some frickin' brains.
Listen to this on the Toddcast podcast is brought to you by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley, an ICBC-approved repair shop. Visit them on Facebook and Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies.
Talmor, Sheshin Marachi. Talmor is my home. My family have worked the land for generations. My gran says the island does not belong to us, but we belong to the island. And we must be ready, for a great evil is coming, and death follows with it.
Listen and subscribe to the latest season of Undertow, The Harrowing, a Storyglass production presented by Realm, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, wherever podcasts are available.